Well, I'm honored. Like 20 years of doing it, I broke away from the Hearts, and it's very hard shoes to fill, big feet. Like the Hearts were 75 years. But I look at it this way: is professional wrestling has always been one of the grassroots in Alberta. So if I could just be a little footprint in the history of wrestling in Alberta, made by the Hearts, and I think I'm doing my part.
Adam Soos here for Rebel News, and we are on location here for some wrestling, a stampede story of a different kind. The legacy of wrestling in Calgary is certainly storied, and the impact of Calgary on wrestling is immeasurable. From Mr. Stu's dungeon, where many wrestlers train, to the incredible superstars who have arisen from Calgary Stampede Wrestling, including Bret and Owen Hart, as well as Jim the Anvil Neidhart, not to mention the British Bulldog, to name a few. Stampede Wrestling was very much the forerunner of the now more than $5 billion industry that is the WWE alone, and we've seen other wrestling offshoots develop since that. It is an incredible legacy, but it is one that's roots are firmly grounded right here in Calgary. So we're out here to check out some grassroots wrestling, check out the local boys and girls who are keeping this legacy alive. So we're here obviously for some incredible local wrestling. Calgary, very much a place where wrestling found its roots. Much of what we see on the big show, on the big stage, started here with Stampede Wrestling. Why do you think it is that Calgary was such a hot spot for wrestling?
For my knowledge of the territories, it's definitely seemed like in Canada, it was Calgary and Quebec. Two very different cultures when it comes to the people and the people of Canada. Calgary definitely has that working class sort of rough and tumble sort of history and legacy. With Stampede going on, you have cowboy culture represented through and through, and the Hearts represented nothing more than cowboy culture. And through their success and their legacy, the nostalgia of professional wrestling in Calgary is still very much attached to them. And their imprint, even on our local scene through the last 20 years, is still very strong. That will continue to be the legacy of Calgary wrestling moving forward. It's our jobs as performers of today to pay homage to that and still be aware of where the business is going in the future.
And what is the contrast then for folks who maybe have seen a WWE or an AEW event, haven't been to a local event? What do you get by coming out and experiencing local wrestling?
It's the direct interactions, right? So at the major promotions, you still might have a price barrier in where your seats are. So you're not going to be able to sit at ringside and be able to banter back and forth immediately with the wrestlers in real time. We provide that closeness. You can be in our faces. We can feel the spit, and you can feel the sweat coming off of us. Like, there's just a more hands-on experience when you come to a local wrestling event. There's definitely a push for us to be contemporary. We want to be looked at in the same light as those major promotions for weekly entertainment you can come and see. The price point is unmatched in local entertainment. Movies, music, theater. You're not going to get a better price for your dollar for a few hours of entertainment every week than coming here and yelling at the boys.
And we're talking about 20, 30 people plus the promotions team. They give their all, everything, their sweat, their bodies in order to put on the show. Is that right?
100%. Like, we have to. It's our job as suppliers of entertainment to be putting out our best product as possible. Anything less is a disservice to the people that do support us on a week-to-week basis.
So I guess first off, just what brings you out to check out this local wrestling?
Stampede. My dad's into wrestling, so I was like, might as well come out and see what's going on.
Well, Calgary, Alberta has been a hub for pro wrestling for many decades, starting with Stu Hart and his family and Stampede Wrestling and all that stuff. So, it's something cheap and easy to do with the family. It's fun. We get everybody involved. lots of storytelling and stuff like that. And it's just generally a good time.
Well, I met Matt Hart like last year, and then I'm a big fan of wrestling as is, but the local scene is actually incredible. Like, I got hooked after I actually saw the start of the Metal and MRB feud, and I was hooked ever since. And I had to start attending to the point I used to actually film some of the matches as well too. And yeah, no, it's the experience, I would say, overall is incredible, and the connection you really do have with the wrestlers, and it's such a great experience for sure.
So my father is Otto Gentili, co-owner of Can-Am Wrestling. I have been kind of in this business my whole life, in and out. I started for my dad, but I really enjoy it myself now. And yeah, reffing is something I start with. I'm hoping to get more into being a manager, hopefully in the future. But yeah, I'm just enjoying it right now. I'm just having some fun.
Why do you think it is, like in the prairies in Calgary particularly, there is such an incredible legacy of wrestling? Why is this the spot where it really took off?
Because this is home of the Hart family. This is where it all started. It's Hart Foundation was here. It started here. It took off here. It's always going to come back here.
And is it like something about the grit, the perseverance, the hard work? Why is it Calgary specifically?
Yeah, it's the hard work everyone puts into it. It's the want of every single person to make wrestling better, to make it more enjoyable for people. And I mean, it's indie wrestling, but it grows. It grows every single day.
I think Stampede Wrestling had a huge reason to do with that, and like, of course, Hart legacy made it able to just be so inspirational for many people around the city. But I do think like the Stampede Wrestling and the Hearts are definitely to be accredited to that. The culture is definitely from them, and I think a lot of Calgarians take pride in wrestling because of them. So.
And what do you think of these athletes kind of putting it all on the line, doing everything, kind of sacrificing to put on a great show for people?
It's awesome. It's my second one I watched. Sure, this will be my second. And I saw somebody go through a door. So that was pretty wild. And it was really entertaining, but I couldn't do it.
I think it's a good city, hard-working city, and I just think the culture here is really good, and that the wrestling lives up to the expectation my dad's had when he was younger.
Really, I think it has to be about the brilliance of the marketing and, again, the storytelling and how they marketed the product to bring everybody around. That there wasn't probably much to do other than the oil and gas industry in Alberta, right? So the people need to be entertained. There's always room for entertainment, so.
And now you said you're just starting to train.
Yes.
What drew you in and got you wanting to be inside the ring?
Well, I've seen Matt Hart wrestle for all my life, pretty much, so I figured that it would be good to try. I wrestled in high school as well, so once I found out that I could get back in and that they needed more girls in the industry, I figured, why not? And I love it. It's amazing.
So you have got your son competing in the ring tonight. So, I mean, nobody knows sort of or is as passionate about their child's sport as a mother. It's absolutely incredible. What is it about wrestling that drew your son in? What is it about the sort of legacy of wrestling here in Calgary that made this the sport for him?
Well, he's really liked it. He used to watch it when he was a little kid. WWE wrestling, used to watch it when he was a little kid and just liked the moves, liked how you could pull everything off. And ever since he's been going to school now learning, he's just loved it.
That's incredible. Now, how much of the sort of Albertan cowboy grit attitude comes through in wrestling? And do you think that's why it kind of took off here in Calgary?
That's really hard to say. That could be one of the reasons. I think Calgarians just love wrestling, period, and that's why they're in on it.
All right, so I'm now here with the boss here at RCW Wrestling. Steven, I guess first off, did you guys have to take a little break from this with COVID and everything, or are you just getting back to it? How long have you been back at it?
Honestly, over 3 years of COVID, we were out maybe 3 months. And we never stopped with COVID at all. We were down Christmas for the big rush. And then I think January, February we were down, and that was it.
Okay, so you're back at it. How's business going? I know lots of business owners that can be tough right now. Costs are high. It seems like you got a good crowd tonight. How's business going?
We ran weekly, and it stayed up, you know. We've had some down weeks, up weeks, but it usually is average for like 60 to 150. So we really didn't see a hit But now there's other promotions coming around, so that kind of gives us a hit because, you know, it all depends on the product and all that. So.
Well, I got to tell you, watching this wrestling, it's absolutely world-class, incredible stuff. The performance there with Riley we just saw, incredible. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Stampede Wrestling legacy here in Calgary. Obviously, you have the Dungeon, the Hart family, all of that good stuff. What's it like to be part of that legacy of keeping alive Calgary's tradition of local wrestling?
Well, I'm honored. Like 20 years of doing it, you know, I broke away from the Harts. And it's very hard shoes to fill, big feet, you know, like the Harts for 75 years. You know, but I look at it this way as professional wrestling has always been one of the grassroots in Alberta. So if I can just be a little footprint in the history of wrestling in Alberta made by the Harts, then I think I'm doing my part.
Why do you think it is that Calgary is the place where it just blew up like nobody else, led to some of the massive outfits? Very much this is where it started. Why Calgary?
Because it's grassroots, you know, blue collar, you know, oil country, hardworking guys, and wrestling's always been. It started in the carnivals, and then Bruce Hart, Stu Hart, they built it into being like where you wanted to come on a Friday night with your family, your friends, your kids. So I guess Calgary's, because Calgary's the heart of Alberta, you know, the oil, the mountains. So it's just great, rugged, hardcore loving wrestling fans.
And finally, what do you say to folks out there who've maybe seen the WWE but haven't had a chance to come down and experience local wrestling close up, get right in the action?
It's day and night. Real Canadian Wrestling, we're not the lights, the fireworks, you know, all the glitz and glamour. We're grassroots, traditional wrestling. You know, it's a family business. All the guys that work here, they have 9 to 5, Monday to Friday jobs. So really come to a local wrestling show, Real Canadian Wrestling. It's more, you're going to see the future of the business right now, and that's how wrestling survived. Vince McMahon, you know, I'm sure you heard, has so many charges paying off for sex charges and all that. Yeah. That's not here, you know, that here, the guys, all the wrestlers in the back and the girls, they sell the product. So if you want real traditional wrestling, a local show is where you're going to get that from.
Well, the event is just wrapping up here at the Legion. Great to see some incredible local wrestling and share the story that's roots started here back in 1948, in fact, in Calgary with Stampede Wrestling. The legacy being kept alive, those Albertan values of grit and perseverance on display by those incredible athletes in the ring. As always, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Soos. If the mainstream media thinks that they can step into the ring with us, they have got another thing coming. Despite the fact that we don't get these massive media bailouts, we're still doing just fine. We'd love for you to consider supporting us by subscribing to Rebel News Plus. When you do so, you get access to all of our incredible members-only content, plus you get ad-free browsing on our website. So again, consider subscribing to Rebel News Plus.